Welcome to Sleepdrunk's Declassified School Survival Guide, a Sleepdrunk Special.
Yes, when you're listening to this, we are on spring break.
Well, on spring break.
Yes.
I'm probably getting back from my vacation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to be getting back until that Saturday. So.
Yeah. Well, the point is, none of us are going to be available to record, so we're pre-recording this episode. It's going to be a special.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about high school. Everybody's favorite time from their past. It's where some of us may have peaked, where some of us may have hit our lows.
Yeah.
But either way, gives us all stories.
Yeah, but all three of us, if you don't know, we are college students. We got through high school. We're freshmen, so we're just pretty fresh out. And I think we have some general advice, tips, stories for anyone who's going into high school, who's currently in high school. Alex, you want to take it? Tell us about your, at least initial experience. Not too much. Like the kind of school you went to, etc.
Yeah, so I went just to a general public school run by the county. Wonderful.
Michael,
It's not wonderful. There's nothing glamorous about it.
I went to what in my state we called governor schools, which are run more by the state itself rather than by county government. And it's a magnet school where the best and brightest from each of the surrounding counties get to apply and go.
And you, Michael.
And me for some reason. I'm still trying to work through that one myself.
I actually applied to go to the other one in our area, but I didn't get in because our county only pays for one spot, and there was a dude that was better at something else than I was good at my own thing. So,
my high school story is a bit weird, like many things in my life. I did 3 years in a regular American public school, just run by my county. I loved it, and then because of the nature of my father's work, he works with an international nonprofit. I had to move to India. So I went to a international school there for 2 years because my parents wanted me to do IB, and I had started school early, so I would have been going to college at the age of 17. So I ended up repeating a year. It's not like I got good grades because I'll be honest, I'm a bit insecure about that because people think, oh, you repeated a year, you probably failed. No, I was an AB student. But the point is, I went to an international school for 2 years, which it's an interesting place. You'll find out more about it a bit later in the episode. So yeah. So Alex, what kind of classes did you take?
I took mostly honors classes. So my freshman year, I took honors everything except for world history. I don't know why. I guess I just imagined that history would be harder, so I didn't take the honors one. And then after that, I always took all honors and AP except for English. Of course, I didn't take AP for like regular subjects because I was just like, that's unnecessary. I'm just making it harder for no reason because it's not like it's going to get me out of anything in college being a STEM major. So I took other AP courses like AP Computer Science, and then I went up a level in math and took AP Calc 1, but I sort of like got out of, or I didn't get out of anything doing that because I didn't pay attention as much as I should have and had to take Calc 1 in college again.
Yeah.
I took a healthy blend of honors and AP courses. My freshman year, I didn't have any APs, but every other year I had a nice healthy dose. I took mostly government and history classes because that's what I really enjoy. And for most of my math courses, I had a setup with my school with a local university where I got to take some of their math courses and some of their government and international relations courses. So I got to take Calculus 200, Math Modeling, which is Math and Model Statistics. I think it's like 303, something like that. I don't know, don't quote me on it. And International Relations 101, all through this college. So I came into college with quite a few sets of AP credits and enough direct college transfer credits that technically I'm an academic sophomore at the moment, but yeah, it was a lot of work my junior and senior year. It was tough. It was a grind, but I think I came out okay.
I mean, you're here.
I'm here.
Yeah, I think you're doing good for yourself. You're not dead.
I do still, I'm not dead yet.
You're still breathing.
Really glad I had an easy class load in high school.
So I started off relatively normal. I took mostly honors class. I think I had one non-honors class. And then moving into 10th grade, I took AP World, which that's what it was. Later on, I took AP Lang, which is actually probably one of my favorite classes in high school, period. I loved that class.
AP Lang was so much fun.
I loved AP Lang. And I also took like AP US History. And then after I moved, I switched to taking mostly IB classes. I didn't take the full diploma. For those of you who don't know, IB, it stands for International Baccalaureate. It's kind of like AP, but like all over the world. And the classes are taken over 2 years. You have a year 1 and a year 2. And I took, there's also this option for something called the full diploma, whereas you take only IB classes, you take them in a certain orientation, and you take a couple of other classes, and you get a special diploma. I chose not to do that because I wanted to take AP Computer Science and also stay involved with some of my extracurriculars, which I will talk about in a bit. But so I wanted to take AP Computer Science, so I took that when I was in India. And I went to an American school that was in my city. I don't want to mention the city, but IB classes are interesting. I think as a student in the US, if you want college credit, it doesn't make sense to take IB classes. But from a learning perspective, I really enjoyed them because they offered something more than just preparing for a test. Because I find that most of my AP classes just had like, here's the test, here's how you get ready for it. This is all the stuff you have to know. You memorize it, and then the day after the AP test, you forget everything. And
well, it's the College Board. They're just a money-making machine. They're not really concerned about your learning.
Yeah. The College Board.
Yeah. And I personally found that with IB classes, it's not all of it is. There is a big IB test at the end of your second year, and that's divided into a bunch of different sections. But there's another component. There's things called they're called internal assessments, and it's something you take in your school that is then sent to IB, like the National Baccalaureate Head Organization. And I know for like some of the sciences, for example, I think the sciences especially prepared me a lot for our honors college here because we're all honors college students. And part of that is we have to develop a full scientific university paper. And I already had to do something like that for IB for an experiment I designed. It was for my biology class, which is what I took. But yeah, IB, if you're taking IB, Godspeed. It can be a bit brutal. Like I know IB math is brutal. IB literature is brutal. I took Lang and Lit, which is slightly different. But yeah, that was my class load.
Yeah, so I actually had a similar sort of class environment experience going to a governor's school. Because, I mean, we are higher tier students at a governor's school.
No, you're not.
I might not be, but we're supposed to be.
Yeah, but you're not. So that statement is false.
Are you going to tell me that some of the smartest people at county are not going to the governor schools?
I mean, like, you're not, and that's what matters.
I am in the classes that I try in. It's a select few. It's only a few, but...
I sense a lot of animosity here. I feel like there's some deep-seated tensions in their area regarding governor schools.
In theory, governor schools are supposed to be full of the highest tier students. In reality, that turns into a lot of kids who really only care about crunching and pumping their GPA to get into UVA and other high tier public schools or the Ivy League schools.
And also kids that pay their way in because their county won't.
Oh, yes, there's so many kids that pay their way in just because their dad knows somebody or their mom works for somebody. But the point is, we are on average much smaller, more focused, and much higher tier academically than your average public school. So even in like highly regimented AP classes, we had the luxury of being able to just deviate from just prepping for the test the whole time and actually be able to have engaging, much more diverse conversations than perhaps I would have had at a standard public school.
And I think in a sense I can understand where he's coming from that point, just because like I've kind of been in both places. I've done the public school life, right? I went to a regular large public school, but then afterwards I got to transfer to a national school, which is a lot smaller. It's private, so there are a lot of people that pay their way in. Mine was luckily I was financed in big part by my where my father works, because that's just part of the thing. If you're outposted, your kids, they get an education.
Yeah, Alavi, how big was your school?
I actually don't know our exact size, but I do know like class sizes were like maybe 14 people at most.
Oh, that's a little smaller than mine. I know
we had some big classes, but generally small. I think maybe the high school was like 300 people.
We had roughly double that. We only had 600 people.
I graduated in a class of approximately 350 people.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
My school was a big school.
Yeah. I know
covered the whole county.
The school I went to while I was living here, the public school, we had a very large graduating class. But yeah, my school, we had relatively small class sizes, and I really like coming from it. I understand the benefits of small classes and that kind of like preppy private school, governor school type feeling, is because you also get a lot more one-on-one interaction with your teachers. I think that's just part of how the U.S. public schooling system is structured and like its funding. But I think that's a whole other thing that's for a different time. But I understand both sides. I know where both of my co-hosts are coming from. I understand that animosity that was very, very heavy between them in that regard.
For the record, I actually really did not like my time at the governor's school, but that's something we can delve into a little bit. There's a lot of toxic people there.
Oh, I get that.
There are so many people at my school who only cared about pumping their GPA and making themselves look as stellar on a college application as possible.
Oh yeah.
And when you're trying to just like make friends, have a good time, and learn something along the way, because I like to just wing things, you know, I'm not about that highly regimented planning lifestyle. It sucks. It's like, oh my God, people need to relax sometimes when it comes to school.
Yeah, because you're being compared to all those people, and your class rank goes down because more of those people are doing that.
We changed it so like a couple years ago, so we no longer track class rank for that reason, just because
you would
people
have to.
My school doesn't do class
lost
rank
their
either.
minds.
Because the international school I went to there were some people that went really, really heavy on it. Like they went, I mean, I know someone that a friend of mine made to Yale US, which is a university in Singapore that has a 2% acceptance rate.
Oof.
It is brutally hard to get into. And it's just like, there's a lot of, like, I was lucky because the environment I was in, since it was an international school, there were people from everywhere, and I mean like everywhere. I knew people from like Germany, a lot of people from Korea, people from India came in, people from like South Africa, all over the world, which is in and of itself a very cool environmental experience, because I got to meet people from different walks of life with different stories and different perspectives, which was nice. But there were also people who, not going to name any particular regions that they're from, but I'm sure you can guess. I'm not going to point any fingers, but there were just this one clique of people at my school. They would never talk with anyone else. Like, they were within themselves, just their own little clan.
Oh, I remember you talking about these.
They were super academically like focused. Like they'd go to like insane lengths to just get like that extra 2% on a test. They would dispute a 95, try to get to a 96. They were just. And I understand that having those kind of people really does suck, because you want to have it.
It's just a part of the culture.
It is. I think that is a part of cultural thing. But there were some people from that region of the world that weren't like that. There were some people that weren't. It's just that like there was this mainline clique.
Yeah.
And I actually had one friend who transferred in for our senior year who kind of went both ways, and even told me like some of the people in that group just go insane. And it's just, I don't understand how you could live life like that, if I'm being honest. Because I remember in high school, like, yeah, I worked hard in classes, I studied, I was in my extracurriculars, but I also like in 10th grade logged 5 hours a day in Destiny. Like, I did other stuff, and like, while that was a bit excessive, it's just that's something that I need to do to function.
Yeah, it's just a part of the high schooler life.
Yeah.
But back to the class rank thing, in public school, it's mostly fair. At least it was in our school. So like, you didn't have that community of people that were trying that hard. I mean, like, there was like a few, but like, I mean, that's just to be expected. Like, if you want to compete with them, you know, it wasn't an unfair amount of those people. And really, just the harder you tried, the higher your class rank was. Except our year was the first one for the new ACA program, where basically you were a dual enrollment student at the local one of the local community colleges, and all of the classes that you took were like GPA boosted, even ones that aren't in any other way through the school, so they just automatically got top 10. Except one of my friends, he's a really smart dude, and it gets to his head, and he's a little cocky sometimes, but like, he managed to pull off number 10 and beat, I think, some of the ACA people.
Wow.
And he didn't even like try super hard.
I'd be proud of that.
Yeah. And they took away senior quotes because people were abusing it, but they would give quotes to the top 10 people, and they would just kind of sit them under their photo in front of the office. Ooh. And his quote was, Without the sauce, a man is lost. But the same man can get lost in the sauce.
That's beautiful.
Fabulous quote.
That's
For those who don't know, from the warrior poet.
Gucci Mane.
The man, the success of the American prison system.
He is. We were talking about this earlier today.
Just before you step into that tangent, he actually emailed his quote in, and the guidance office sent back an email asking, "What is the sauce?" Because like we're concerned about this quote, and he explained it as the sauce is like fame, and you have to not get caught up in it, even if that's not what Gucci Mane meant by that. That's what he told him. They bought it, and he got it right up near the office.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but like we were saying, look at pictures of Gucci Mane before and after prison, because like he changed a lot. Like, you know, he got in shape, he grew his hair out, his skin looks healthier. He's like he's in good. I think he came out of prison looking pretty good.
Yep, and now he comes out of prison and he starts producing the occasional hit. I like some of his collaborations, but yeah, he really came out a better man, better music maker.
All right. So while we're on the topic of classes, what are your favorite and least favorite classes going? I guess, Michael.
Oh, my favorite class was by far my We the People class, which is a class, one part competition. And the class was essentially an in-depth analysis on various sections of the Constitution. And the competition took place at various points in the year. We had to compete in a regional competition and then a state level competition. And then I was fortunate enough to make it with my class to the national level competition and represent our state. And I was on Unit 2. So what that meant was I spent basically this entire class analyzing and reading and writing about the founding documents and the Federalist Papers, the writings of James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, Martin Luther. I'm sorry, Luther Martin, not Martin Luther. Martin Luther was the priest who started the Protestant Reformation. Luther Martin was the founding father.
And his 95 Theses.
Luther Martin, wonderful historical figure. If you don't know who he is, check him out. He's absolutely insane.
Check him out. His Twitter is...
I am a desiccated corpse.
That's one way to phrase it, Alavi.
Yep. Least favorite class?
My least favorite class had to be probably freshman biology. I almost said chemistry because...
I loved chemistry in high school.
I did not like chemistry because I don't like math. But I loved my teacher for chemistry. That she was an absolutely amazing teacher, wonderful person.
Too. Oh my god!
Yeah, mine was great.
And that's why I have to go with bio, just because bio was really, really dry. I was just uninterested all year. And to be fair, it was a freshman level course, so I don't remember it all that much. So it's ancient history at this point.
Alex, what about you? Favorite, least favorite?
So my least favorite is you brought up bio. Our bio teacher was like so boring. She was like, who's that guy that they always have symbolize just the most boring individual? He's like bald and...
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
What is his name?
Let me look him up.
She was the female embodiment of this man.
Harold something.
Harold? That doesn't ring any bells, but no, not him.
Okay, not him. Okay, never mind then.
But she was just so boring. She made everything excruciatingly painful. She yelled at me for being on my TI-84 in class, thinking it was a phone. She took one of my friend's phone cases away because he was fooling her and just held up his phone case trying to get her to take it. She actually took it. Oh my god. And she just needed to retire. Just go away. Just stop pestering us. Just leave. Go. And then English came soon after. I disliked English a lot. Actually, I took English 12 online so that I could have the schedule that I wanted. That was probably the most awful class I've ever taken.
Yeah, why would you take online English?
Because if I took online English, then I could have my first 2 blocks empty, so I could just show up late every day.
That is nice.
See, we could only have 1 free block. And that was either study
We
hall.
could have up to 3. So I could have showed up super late every day. But that was the case for me. And then my favorite class was either AP Computer Science, just because like that's my prerogative, you know.
That's your jam.
That's my jam. Or chemistry honors chemistry with, let's call her Miss Thompson. Oh my god, she was an amazing person. She actually just did it because she loved teaching. Like, she had all the money that one could ever want, but she just did it. Like, she would talk about how her punishment for getting pulled over in her Mercedes sports car was taking the Mercedes SUV instead, because she just sped all the time, because like, why not? You have a Mercedes sports car.
That is true. I would do that.
And like, she was past retirement age, but she's just, you know, this is what I enjoy doing, so why not?
fair.
And she was just a super like no BS teacher, and I very much so appreciate that in the person, because that's also what I am. I just cut this. That's not what I just don't like that. And then she was a phenomenal chemistry teacher, very knowledgeable. It was a wonderful class.
What about you, Alavi? What were some of your favorite courses?
So, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to pick. Probably my favorite course I took in public school was without a doubt AP Lang. My teacher, I'll just call him Mr. Weasel. Just couldn't think of anything that started with W. Like, he was a wonderful teacher, just because he not only prepped us for the test, but he did actually teach us to be better writers, to think differently, to analyze situations differently, and he loved his job. And I think he just made an awesome teacher. And that class impacted me a lot, because it kind of helped me develop my love for writing, because I found out that through that class I actually can write, and that I enjoy writing. And it was because of Mr. Weasel. So if you're listening to this, thanks. You probably don't remember, because public school was many years ago. But still, that was an amazing class.
You are also calling him Mr. Weasel.
I am probably calling him Mr. Yeah, I am. Well, if you're listening, thank you. And as for my favorite class I took in the international school was without a doubt IB higher level economics. Because my teacher for that class, I'll call him Mr. Carter, he was great. Like, he was into memes. He would like blast rap music to demonstrate the effects of negative externalities. He also loved his job. He used to be a pastry chef. Like, it was also a great class, and also really changed my worldview in a lot of things, and it helped me see a lot of the world in a different lens and from a different perspective. So, yeah, there's not much to say about that. And also it goes with the fact that I thought this before I started studying economics, but everyone should take an economics class at some point, just because there's a lot of very simple things that really you don't think about, but are very important, that learning economics can show you. As for my least favorite class, which is kind of ironic, it was my 10th grade English class. I hated that class so much, and it was just because of my terrible teacher I'll be calling Miss. She's in my... And yes, I'm aware I'm not gonna use that name too much, but this teacher, she for some reason thought she was like 15, and would act like a 15-year-old in the class. She assigned Divergent as a required reading. Divergent,
Ew.
which is...
That's disgusting.
It's not even the Hunger Games. Like, at least the Hunger Games was the first one, right, in that genre of young adult dystopian, oh, here's all this teen drama books.
I don't know. Percy Jackson existed, but it's
Divergent
a
was
little
just a blatant ripoff.
Yeah. But like Hunger Games was the first that really solidified that specific genre.
Yeah.
But we had to read Divergent, which was just terrible. Like, if you're a Divergent fan, I'm sure you have found your merit, but I personally can't stand those books, because it's such just a knockoff of the Hunger Games, which are a great series in their own right.
Yeah, at least the Hunger Games has like a surface level political message.
Yeah, and also like has interesting characters.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I feel like Katniss goes through some development.
Yeah.
The movies did knock her down a notch from the books. But also, like, Katniss' sister goes through a lot. She develops quite a bit. I forgot her name. I think Rose or was something?
Primrose.
Primrose,
yeah.
She goes through some stuff, and, like, those are well-written books. Whereas, just Divergent is just a blatant copy with a slight hint more urbanism in it. And I just hated that. And although, that whole class made me so mad, and everything about it just pissed me off. So, yeah.
In my 10th grade reading English class, we read The Inferno.
See, we did...
Big step.
We read other stuff. No, we read Lord of the Flies, Beowulf. Also, the way Mrs. read Beowulf was the most monotone thing ever. Like, this is Beowulf. This is one of the first epic poems, right? The word epic is in the name of the work, right? She read it like this. Beowulf walked into the cave where Grendel was. He ripped off Grendel's arm and threw it to the side. Like, there was nothing there.
See, my AP literature teacher, when we read this book, she knew Old English, so she just pulled out an Old English rendition of it and just spouted it off.
That's sick.
It was pretty epic.
I hated all of my English. Actually, you know what? I won't say that. I had one English teacher. I hated all my English classes, but at least my 10th grade English teacher made it like bearable. Like, she was a nice person. But to my 11th grade English teacher, let's call him Mr. Florsheim. You're an asshole. Your brakes in your Ford Ranger went out for a reason.
That's brutal.
I really liked all of my English teachers. English may not have been my favorite subject, but in 9th grade, my professor, let's call him Mr. Pomegranate.
Pomegranate.
He was in our school ultimate frisbee tournament. He was a really cool guy. Loved him. 10th grade English teacher. She was also really nice. She remembered who I was all through high school. I would occasionally talk to her. It was really nice. My 11th grade English teacher, Mr. Coleslaw. Fantastic teacher. Loved him. He actually really inspired me, much like Alavi a little bit, to write and really enjoy writing. And then senior year English teacher, she was also incredibly nice. I went back and visited her over winter break. It was wonderful.
Yeah. That was a good little quasi-segue. I was into band a lot as a class. That was also one of my favorite classes. And using that as a forced segue, let's talk about extracurriculars. So, Alex, I know you had a couple, right? So you had some interesting ones.
I didn't have a couple. I had one. I didn't do extracurriculars. I thought
working counts.
That counts?
Yeah, I think that counts.
Okay, well, I had two. So I just kind of thought, if I'm going to do things that aren't school, I'm just going to do what I want. So I didn't do any of the typical extracurriculars. I wasn't a sports fan. So I was one of the first founding members and later president of the Computer Science Honor Society. Yes. We did great volunteer work engaging the county's youth in computer science and getting everybody on that STEM track that they should be on.
I can get that.
I don't know. I would argue that kids should be on the
STEM track.
Kids should be on the economics track. So they can understand the markets.
I mean, I feel like if we all taught...
I feel like our two are better.
But I feel like if we all
government
taught
is just bureaucracy.
One child and just taught him everything we know, he would be the perfect individual.
He would be.
Alex, you can teach him all about technology and hard sciences. Alavi, you teach him about the middle sciences. And I teach him about the soft sciences of politics and government and model
If by
science.
soft, you mean like a puff of air sciences, because it's like... Because the reason economics is considered not a hard science is because it involves a lot of very slight imprecision. Because people are chaotic.
This is a tangent.
This is a tangent.
Yeah, coming back. So you were saying about CHS.
So, I guess if you include the other things that I did as extracurriculars, then there's my business that I started.
Which is quite successful, actually.
I mean,
moderately
successful for just something that I just decided, I can do that and make a few dollars, and I made more than I guess I would have expected to have made. I actually went down to the county and got a DBA name in January of 2017 and a business license, and I conduct business doing certain things, which I won't disclose because that could be identifying.
Yes.
And also I held a job most of my senior year as a restaurant host. So that was, good.
How about you, Michael?
I did Model United Nations and Model Congress through most of my high school career. Our school hosted a conference for each of those every year. It was always a load of fun. I've met some of my best friends and made a lot of friendships through that program. Anybody who's still in high school that may or may not be listening, you should join Model UN or Model Congress. It's always a lot of fun.
I didn't do MUN, but I did hear a lot about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I also played baseball. I played varsity baseball all through high school. Unfortunately, I didn't actually get to play as much as I'd like because of injuries every single year.
Yeah.
So that was a dream crusher a little bit. Yeah. Just gonna oof.
Yeah.
Big F. But yeah, I love my team. I love my teammates. We had a great run. We won a state championship my sophomore year. First one in school history. It was great. We had a blast.
If you can't tell, out in the common room, someone's watching a video made by Universal Studios, and we can tell that quite clearly. You might go tell the audio. So you're saying baseball, sports?
So yes, sports. I loved sports. Loved baseball. Loved the sports. Yeah, it was a great opportunity. I'm a little disappointed that I never got to carry it into college, but injuries kind of prevented that a little bit. And I mean, it's always something I'll look on positively. So Alavi, what about you?
So in a way, I was kind of almost the polar opposite of Michael in that regard. I was a band kid throughout the entirety of my high school career. Across both schools. And when I was in public school, I did marching band for 2 years. I was in the jazz band. I'm a saxophonist. I was in the regular band, and I think high school is when I really fell in love with music, because about through middle school I just kind of went through it like I did it because I could, because I thought it would be kind of cool, like say, oh hey, I can play the saxophone. But in like through 9th through 10th grade, I just really fell in love with making music, making it for people, performing, composing, just all the little things that are associated with it. And I was thankful to have a really great band director who really whipped me into shape, because coming in, I was quite a weak player. And when I left, it changed me a lot. And I got a lot of skills, which when I moved to India, where our band program wasn't as funded, I was able to contribute a lot to that program. I think I was at least de facto head of the jazz band. I was a member of Triumph Music Honor Society. I was in the jazz band. I did a internship there where I got to teach kids, like 6th graders, how to play instruments, or how to play saxophone specifically, and guide them there. And yeah, band was always a huge part of my life, and it is to this day. Like, I've been lucky enough to be able to continue playing in my in our university's jazz chamber, which is also just been an incredible experience. But yeah, I've been love music. I was in our school strategy club, where I got to play a lot of Magic the Gathering, which was fun.
Love Magic.
Magic's great. Alex hates it.
Magic's terrible.
Well, I got to play a lot of Magic the Gathering, which I actually got into because of my band friends. And then in my senior year, I decided
I'd been introduced to that by band kids.
Okay, to be fair, the band kids at my school, we were actually, like, cool because we brought in the most number of trophies for our school.
No, the band kids always think they're cool and they're not.
No, people hung out with us. Like people, like, cheer us on for football games and shit. No. Our band kids, like, because also we were big programs, so we had people, like, in everything. Like, some of our band kids were also, like, top of the hockey team and, like, various things.
You had a fucking hockey team?
Yeah, we had a hockey team in public school.
We did not have a hockey team. Yeah. Was it field hockey or was it ice hockey?
Actually, we had a hockey team. It was very small.
We had a field hockey team as well,
knew about it, but we did have a hockey team.
We had a field hockey team that was really good, but we never had an ice hockey team.
I don't know about ice, actually.
Yeah, we had a field hockey team. I believe it might have been a local league. It might not have been through the school.
But field hockey's dumb.
Field hockey.
Changed my mind.
I don't like field hockey. But like, we had people who were we had some of the top basketball players were in band. Like, we were actually, because people respected us because we put a lot of work to making the school better. Like, we generated a lot of revenue for the school by playing at places. We got a ton of trophies because our band director was great. And I remember my first year of marching band, we pulled first in every competition we went to. We got a perfect score at districts, except for one competition where one of our rival schools inched out just barely above us, which made us all pretty mad. But other competitions, we pulled first, which was amazing. And yeah, band was amazing. But like I was saying, my senior year, I decided to mix things up a little bit, and I joined our speech and debate team. And that was also an incredible experience. And it helped me, like, develop a lot as a public speaker. I managed to make finals at our tournament, which was really cool for my first year with my speech, which I'm very proud of. And yeah, that was also a great experience. I highly recommend speech and debate for people if you haven't done it before. It's really cool.
But did you ever have to debate with an elected judge over the merits of electing judges?
No, because I was on the speech team. I didn't do this debate part of speech and debate. I did the speech part.
That was an interesting experience. You tell an elected official that you do not believe that they should be elected on philosophical and moral and political grounds. creates some interesting conversation.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
Band kids. They just like, they thought that they were so good at what they did, and it was just like laughable how many times they would screw up at football games. Like the marching band kids. I'm not sure about the ensemble. The ensemble was like okay. And then the color guard. I had a girlfriend in high school that was in color guard, and then every time that they would get left out of the yearbook in the sports section because like color guard's not a sport, she would get furious and then talk about how color guard's a sport and how they deserve to be in the yearbook, even though like they're
So, our band program was actually really good, and we did well. So, like, one of our ensembles was invited to play at Carnegie Hall, actually. The ensemble I would have gone into if I hadn't have moved, which is another very salty story, but we were invited to play at Carnegie Hall.
My school was small enough that we didn't have a marching band or a performing band or anything. We had a orchestra and a very small jazz band. I think there were like 7 people in it.
Okay.
But music program, not huge. It existed, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think really it's a shame that a lot of schools don't incorporate more music, just because it gives you a very unique feeling of camaraderie, because it requires everyone to like put like a bunch of their own specific skills and talents together to create something really, really great. Like the feeling just coming off a stage after you just had a great show, there's nothing like it. It's just like relief, all these different emotions because you spent months working towards it. I know I've heard it's a lot like doing really good in sports. I was never a big sports kid. I did swim for a bit, but that's it. But I just think music is something a lot of people should at least try to get into. It's not for everyone, and I acknowledge that. Like, not everyone will fall for music the way I have, and I think it's something everyone should at least explore at some point. Yeah, that's my little mini love letter to high school band. Our next bit's going to be about probably one of the worst parts of high school, the SAT. Let's talk about the SAT.
I didn't worry about the SAT as much as I probably should have. I don't know. I just had a general apathy, and I couldn't make myself care. And I knew that colleges were beginning to care less and less about your SAT scores, rightly so, because test scores aren't a good reflection of the student, because certain people can just be better at tests than other people. And I never was a particularly good, or I guess for that sake, bad test taker. I just took longer than I should. So I didn't study at all for my SAT, and I got like a mid-range score, and then I took it again just to do it, but also didn't study, and I got 10 points higher. So, I mean...
Should we mention our scores?
I don't even remember mine.
Mine was a final 1220.
I think mine on the SAT was like a 1260, 1270,
Okay.
But I didn't use my SAT score. I used my ACT.
Okay. I didn't take the ACT. I think I pulled a 1440 on my second run. My first run I got a 1300 exact. But like for me, I initially didn't even know what the SAT was until like mid 11th grade, and I was like, oh hey, I have to take that. But after I moved, since my parents made me repeat a year, they really got on my ass about studying for the SAT, and it really made my life hell. And it was super stressful. My parents were on my back about it. Like I got a tutor for at one point for my math because my math was really weak. And to be fair, I actually did improve my math a lot. But it was brutal. It was really hurt my mental health, I think. In fact, and if you want any advice from us, at least for me, for studying for SAT, just start early and do it bit by bit and just take a lot of practice tests. And also, even if the school you're applying to super scores, just like you should at least try a bit on each individual section. Because I remember the second time I took it, I went all in on math. I think I managed to get like a 750, which is a pretty solid math score, I would say. But my English didn't improve at all, even though English is my stronger subject. So I could have gotten a better score, but I just didn't care about the English because I thought, oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And I kind of screwed myself over a little bit because I feel like I could have gotten a much higher score. And yeah, just the SAT is terrible, and I frankly think that it's dumb and shouldn't be used because they use very, very weird questions that don't really apply to a lot of things in college, at least in my experience so far. Like, they'd have really, really specific math questions that don't really apply in many cases.
Yeah, the SAT is run by the College Board, same people that do the AP tests we were talking about earlier, and it costs a ludicrous amount of money to take, and it's just a really awful test to take. Like, I'm one of the people who Alex sort of mentioned earlier. I just do really well on tests and don't have to try. I just do. So I fell asleep during my first time taking the SAT and still got a better score than everyone else in the room, which is kind of sad to me because I understand that people work really, really hard to prepare for these tests, but it's not something you need to hinge your college decision on because one, a single test does not define you, and also the SAT is just abusive and awful.
Yeah.
And also, you shouldn't have to prepare for it the way people do.
Yeah.
It is disgusting to me when I see people buy really expensive study books and hire tutors for a single test. I don't like that.
Yeah.
You should be able to just go in and take it on your merits, maybe do some light review of English generalities or math generalities.
Although, to be fair, I totally get that. Although I actually really did like my math tutor. He was a cool guy and helped me get better at math in general. But I totally get that. Like, also, quick bit of advice, don't buy SAT books. Khan Academy, it's totally free, and they have an amazing SAT prep program. Like, it was better than, like, I bought, like, multiple books because my parents were really on my back about this. And it was better than, like, all of the books I used. Just because it's adaptive, it's comprehensive, and lots of stuff comes straight from the College Board because they made a partnership with Khan Academy. So it's totally free. And if you're considering investing in SAT books, just don't. It's not worth it. It really isn't.
Yeah. I took the ACT, and that's what I used on my college applications, which is a similar test, but it's run by a different company. And in my opinion, it's just a lot better of a test. The questions are much more natural. It makes more sense to me, and it was a better testing experience. So I did incredibly well, I think, on the ACT compared to the SAT, and so that was the score I used.
But yeah, the SAT is just, I think, one of the worst parts of high school. You have to take it if you're trying to go to school in the US, and you can get through it. Like, I know for me personally, just coming from my own point of view, it got really bad at some points. Like, I was stressing so much, like I wasn't eating right. It was really affecting me. My whole life, it just like drained my life. So don't let that happen. Don't work too much on it. Spread it out. Don't just grind for hours. It's not worth it. Don't put too much stock into the SAT because yes, it impacts which college you go to, and if you bomb it, it'll make getting into to the college of your choice a lot harder. But at the same time, it's not what makes your life. And if you don't do good on the SAT, your life isn't over, and you'll get through it. It's a terrible time.
Yeah, from my point of view, you shouldn't have to study for the SAT in an ideal world. I understand that some people like to study and they legitimately get lots and lots of benefit from being able to just sit down and grind through prep books and stuff, but I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
And it sounds miserable to me, and Alavi, from what you've described, it was miserable.
It's hell.
And so, at the end of the day, take it easy. Don't stress. Just don't stress about these things. I know it sounds so simple for me to just say, don't stress out. But if you sign a lot of weight and stock to what is just a piece of paper, you're going to get stressed.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
What's better is essays, because college essays, I actually had a lot of fun writing mine.
Yeah, I did too.
I had some fun with mine.
Alex, how about you? Did you write anything interesting for college essays?
Not particularly. I honestly don't really even remember the essay that I submitted for this unit, for this application. And I remember you had to write a separate one to get into the honors college here. Mm-hmm. And I talked about, like, it asked, what would you research? And I didn't even research this because I couldn't in my honors class. But I said that I would research AI and just talked about AI and ethics. And I made it...
That's what I wrote for mine, too.
I made it sound so, like it wasn't bullshit, but it was, like... obviously just trying to get a better review, I guess. And I only applied to 2 schools. I applied to this one and another one that's renowned for engineering in the state. And then I came to a tour here, and I liked this one so much, and I already had done ED, early decision, for the other one.
Mm-hmm. Sure, it was erectile dysfunction.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it wasn't erectile dysfunction. I'll have to check, but... and I was just really hoping that I could not get accepted. And I didn't get accepted to the other one. I got accepted for second choice major. So I could choose to say, nope, screw you guys. I'm going to the other one. And I came here.
Yep.
And yeah.
I know. I applied to 9 schools. I applied to a lot. I applied to the same other school Alex did. They waitlisted me, but I was applying out of state. So, like, because at least the way it works where we are is that schools in state, if you apply for a school within your own state, they tend to prefer those kind of students because, you know, they're funded by the state, so they want to help the citizens of the state. Well, but I ended up applying out of state because I was living overseas, even though, like, we still own our house here. But I applied there. I applied here. And I applied to a few other places. I applied to Yale. I knew I wouldn't make it, but I did anyway because... See, the thing. I hate the Ivy League schools. I think they're all incredibly overrated and really preppy. But Yale is like the cool hipster out of them, and I think they're cool. And I kind of want to go there for grad school, if I'm lucky. Yeah.
See, I only applied to, I think, 5. Yeah, I only applied to 5, and only 2 of those applications, or actually 3. Only 3 of those applications I actually took seriously. The school that both Alavi and Alex applied to is renowned for their engineering. I don't like engineering. Fun fact. So I did not take that application seriously at all. And then the other school I applied to out of the 5 that I didn't really take seriously was my dad's alma mater. And he told me to apply there if he was going to pay for all of my college applications. So naturally I did. They actually
like that too.
Yeah, they offered me a lot of money to go there, which I was really surprised by because I kind of BS'd the application. But I turned it down because it still would have been more expensive for me to go there out of state than it would have been to just go here in state, even with no money. Mm-hmm. And the 3 applications I did take seriously for this school and 2 others that are renowned for their government and political and law programs. Obviously, I ended up going here to this university and got waitlisted and rejected by the other 2.
Yeah. I'll be quite honest, the school we're at right now wasn't my first choice. My first choice was another school, school in our state that I was really gunning for, but honestly, after coming here, I'm a lot happier with like what I got, which I think kind of leads to an important point is that if you're in high school, the college you go to isn't everything. Like, you don't need to go to a top 5 university to do well in life. And even if you do while you're there, you honestly will probably have a terrible time. Like, I'm not trying to on people who go to elite schools because I know I've had some friends that have gone to elite schools that are great people, but it's just that environments can be a lot like how Michael said about his school, where people are super ultra motivated, don't have time, and it can be toxic. So I feel like in general, it's not a good idea to put way too much stock into where you go for university. Because in the end, you're going to get a degree and education. And if you get those skills, the workplace will value you and you will get a job and you'll be happy. And if you go to a school that you actually like being at, your time studying there will be that much more enriched. Because not only will you be studying or what you want to do, but you'll have great friends. You know, you'll have good activities. You might start a podcast.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think we've been really fortunate in that regard, in that we all kind of quickly meshed as friends and had a really great social dynamic, and I think we really lucked out. Like, I think part of it is luck, because you know, we're perfect set of circumstances, and
we all work. I think we've been doing good for ourselves. This episode was sponsored by, as of now, no one. If you wish to reach out and sponsor us, email us at business@sleepdrunk.net. We'll get back to you, talk it out. And also, if you as listeners know anyone that might want to sponsor us, let them know, because that'd be really nice.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Sleepdrunk Podcast. The first person to guess the song of the day on any of our social media, which are Sleepdrunk PC on Twitter and Instagram, or by email, will get a shout out in the next episode.
And the Sleepdrunk Podcast can be found on any of your favorite podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. We'll catch you next week.
We'll catch you next week.
Catch you next week.